My next guests are both from the Red Stitch Actor Theatre's graduate program, and they're working together on the Australian premiere of Gary Owen's Romeo and Julie. Welcome to Showtime, Shontane and Damon.
Yeah,
Hello.
thank you.
Hello, but Shontane, I really want to talk to you about something that I read about you. You've graduated from WAAPA, and you have focused on Aboriginal performance. And one of the things that I've read about you is that you're really keen to help tell Indigenous stories and assist underrepresented Indigenous people create and have their voices heard on stage and on television. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, yes, I can. I guess where that desire comes from, it's growing up in this country, watching TV, and just not seeing anyone that looks like me or has a similar story and life story to what I grew up knowing. And someone who's Noongar from Perth, and just having everyone around me, you know, my family, and having similar stories, and we could all relate. Growing up and seeing on TV that there was nothing that we could relate to or anybody that looked like us. It just was very hard to grow up in this country being like, well, what about us? Like, what about our stories? Our stories are also very important. And I think when you get stories going and are able to share stories to these platforms and on these levels where they reach nationally and hopefully internationally, you feel seen, and there's a lot more education to what it is to be Indigenous and the things that we go through. So that's what I hope to do, is play my part in helping with that information being spread, as well as misinformation being kind of corrected as well. So it's kind of big for education for me and just sharing my culture, which is really important to me. So yeah, that's where that comes from.
And Shontane, as someone who lived through that that lack of representation that you talked about, how did you find coming into the entertainment industry and getting into WAAPA and getting into Red Stitch and getting on stages in Australia?
I guess I kind of got lucky. I started doing acting through the Aboriginal Performance course at WAAPA, which is a 1-year course. So my start with acting was through that, where everyone is Indigenous, and so there's this instant connection and understanding between you guys. And then I found as I went through to the Bachelor, you kind of have to adjust, because then there's other people and other cultures, and it's not just, you know, other Australians. There were people who are French, people who are Indian, and it was interesting where you just take in all these people's life experiences as well as your own, and it actually, I saw it as an advantage, all these people with all these different life stories and being able to work together with them. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of learning, and I feel like if you're open to learning, you will always see it as an advantage and as a way to improve yourself as a person and be able to connect with others a lot better and learn more about yourself and others in the world, and that's always a great thing. So I see it as a good thing. I might be an optimist, but it's always nice to go through, especially if you have a strong sense of yourself, where you can connect with people and what things you can connect over, where your cultures maybe, you know, align, or if they don't align, then you can learn something that's actually something you never thought about, or isn't a part of your life, where you're like, oh, that's so interesting. So I think I take it as a good thing, and coming into spaces, and I think with having that strong sense of identity, I do enjoy being a bit of a person who shares their outlook and their views and experiences. So that's something that I do like to do personally, and then it's not something that is for everyone. So when I do come into these spaces, I do like to share things, and I feel safe sharing things with people that I've worked with, especially here at Red Stitch. Everyone was so incredibly welcoming, and it's overall, I feel like I've been very lucky and had a really nice journey with everything. So I'm like, maybe it's not like that for everyone, but I've had a great time.
Damon, you've both gone through the Red Stitch Actors Theatre graduate program.
Yep.
How has that prepared you for life as a performer?
Yeah, great question. First of all, it sets you up with like a great relationship here in Melbourne, and because the industry is so small, I feel like within this country as well, with a bunch of really great artists and actors, and it is like sort of such a unique company, like because it's an actors-led theatre. I don't know how many there are in Australia, but I feel like Red Stitch is certainly the most prominent. And so I guess like the relationships first and foremost that you build just by being a part of the program is like irreplaceable. Like all these artists are so busy all the time off working, and you get to meet them and they will then, I don't know, give you advice about their career, or you get to see them in shows, and like, you just get to build a personal relationship with like artists that I admired, you know, going through drama school and seeing them perform on main stages and here as well. So there's that. And then like, I mean, you had like there was like creative developments and stuff that we got to do here. You got to see the ins and outs of like how a company works, like, you know, at its worst and at its best, you know, like, so for this year, for instance, they're doing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf at the Comedy Festival, the Comedy Theatre, and but to see that go from like at an 80-seat venue to like now in a 1,000-seat venue, but also at a time last year when like loads of funding was getting cut too. So like watching the sort of ups and downs and see how a company navigates through that. So it's been pretty invaluable. And then of course, like the reason we get to perform doing this show is like because of that program, you know, that's how we met. And like Shontane and I have even did a show before this, not at Red Stitch, but you know, like, yeah, this is how we met and get to perform now. So it's been huge.
And talking about the ups and downs and funding cuts and also, of course, the cost of living crisis as young performers who are in many ways just starting out in your career in arts and entertainment. Are you hopeful?
Try to be.
Yeah. I think, like, sorry to jump in again, but like, I think that's why some of these programs are so good, because I know like so many friends that are like wonderful performers, and that, you know, opportunities can be really few and far between, and that's, I think, so tied up into like funding cuts, and which is tied up into cost of living, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, these things are good anchor points to hold on to, but yeah, I hope things get better.
Yeah, like, hopefully, because you don't, it's everything on the smaller scale of what can I afford to eat this week? And then, but I want to put money aside for maybe a voice workshop that will help me get maybe more jobs, or maybe with voice acting. And it's just all these little things where I feel like you have to put on the rose-tinted glasses sometimes, otherwise you're going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But yeah, fingers crossed for the future, it gets better.
Yeah, and, you know, keep taking opportunities on new artists and stuff like that, because, you know, that'd be nice. So
being a little bit older than the two of you, I've gone through a few of these economic ups and downs, and please take some comfort in the fact that, you know, even when times are tough, people still look for entertainment. They look for escapism, and they look for stories. They look for uplifting stories and challenging stories. So, yeah, arts and entertainment and all sorts of cultural outlets are still such an important part of our community, especially here in Melbourne, you know, the cultural capital. So yeah, look, I admire so much what you're both doing, and just, you know, the resilience with some of the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like to think that, I'm hopeful that people will keep coming to see, you know, stories and coming to the theatre, and I think that's proven to be the case over this, you know, like even the last couple of years. So
yeah, absolutely. And, you know, post-COVID, things are getting stronger and stronger. There are more and more people coming out, even with you know, these affordability challenges that are facing us currently. But I wanted to talk to you about Romeo and Julie. It's gotten 5-star reviews in the UK, and it's now coming to Australia with its premiere on the 24th of July at Red Stitch. Now, Romeo and Julie sounds a little bit like a story that's a little bit familiar. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So Romeo and Julie are very, I guess, like loosely inspired by Romeo and Juliet. The play is set in Wales. I like to think of it as, R&J with a little bit of a twist, a modern twist of if it was set nowadays, how would it turn out, where you don't have to necessarily get married and, certain gender roles are things that have to happen.
Yeah. Julie, who's our Juliet, is is on the track to go to Cambridge, and our Romy is like a young, unemployed, lower working class, 18-year-old with an alcoholic mum and a baby. So
we'll try not to give too many spoilers.
Oh I don't think but
it's very similar to the old story of star-crossed lovers come from two different worlds. They meet somehow, just sparks fly and
first love and everything.
First love and trying to navigate that, and the setting has changed where it's more modern times with modern problems and issues. Also, comments on class as well, working class, and the struggle against that with someone who's trying to get into Cambridge surrounded by, posh people. And
very much like a love story where like it could be really nice and could work out really well for them if it wasn't for the world outside them like pulling them apart, and like in this place there's a lot more like poverty and working class conditions that are pulling them apart, more so than like warring households and
poison
and stuff like that.
So less combat, less poison.
But just as much fun.
And how's it been for you? Has it been a bit of a full circle moment to go through the Red Stitch Graduates program and then come back and be cast together in a Red Stitch Australian premiere?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so nice because with the program, it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to be in a show or work with Red Stitch. It's more about that 1 year of experience and, getting involved with things, putting your hand up for stuff that you're interested in. For example, last year I was lucky enough to work with on a lot of the creative developments. So meeting a lot of people that way, especially being from Perth and not knowing anyone in Melbourne, that was really lovely. Such lovely opportunity to meet awesome people. So I was absolutely happy with what I got to do last year, and I was like, oh, thank you so much, Red Stitch. And they're like, oh, hey, do you want to do a show? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, please, thank you. So it's been super nice, and to work with this guy again after meeting him last year. We met in our audition for the graduate program.
We auditioned after each other too.
Yeah, which is so funny, so crazy.
Oh, so you actually met in the audition waiting room?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you were the only person I met for that audition because you were right before me.
Yeah, I think I met someone before you, but I was wow. Hi. And it's the first thing, I think it might have been my first in-person proper audition thing after
How awkward would this chat have been if the two of you didn't get along in that waiting room?
That would be hilarious. Oh my gosh, the tension.
So
I wonder how the play would have turned out.
Yeah.
Maybe we do take the poison. Maybe there was more poison than this sound.
More poison in the play.
But it's been super nice. Yeah. So good. So lucky.
The play sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like it's got that familiarity to it, but a whole heap of new reimagined stuff as well. Romeo and Julie will be on at Red Stitch Actors Theatre in St Kilda, opening on the 24th of July, but for a limited season only until the 18th of August. For tickets and more info, visit redstitch.net. Shontane Farmer and Damon Baudin, thank you so much, and chookers for the season.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.